Paranasal sinus. Para means parallel or nearby. Nasal means nose. Sinus means cavity. So as you can see in the diagram, certain things, color things are shown just parallel to or nearby to your nasal cavity. In the red color, it is maxillary. In the yellow color, it is sphenoidal. In the blue color, it is ethmoid. And in the purple color, it is frontal. So you can see what actually we are going to study. Means we are going to study the nearby area of nose, which is inside the bones. So as you can see the names frontal, ethmoidal, sphenoidal, maxillary, you all know these are the names of the bones
Hmm.
of skull only. That's why the names are like this only. So whatever is the name of bone, that is the name of sinus given to that particular cavity. So maxillary sinus, sphenoidal sinus, ethmoidal sinus, frontal. So simply you can put your finger like this. This is frontal, just about to your supraciliary line, this particular part. This is frontal sinus. This is maxillary, maxilla, the cheek part, just below to your zygomatic. This particular area having the broader one is sphenoid. Then there are small ones known as ethmoid. Ethmoid is actually a group of spaces. That's why some places it is shown as ethmoidal cells also. Okay, so this is what is today's target, to learn it in very simple manner, not in a complicated manner, because normally for UG purpose the question comes for 4 marks. Define the sinuses or very specifically define the frontal sinus or any other sinus. Please close your mics now. Now see what is written here. The same thing, the paranasal sinus are cavities in the interior of maxilla, frontal, sphenoid and ethmoid bone. So no need to remember the space or place or location. If you know the location of the bone, you can simply know the location of the sinus also. So it is not a big deal. Where they are going to get open, they all open into the lateral wall of nasal cavity by small apertures that permit both the equilibrium of air and mucus. Air is normal thing. Normally the sinus are filled by the air only. But sometimes if there is sometimes cold or some inflammation occurs in these places, it can also go for the mucus. So it is equilibrium between the various air spaces and the clearance of mucus from the sinuses into nose via a very important thing, mucociliary escalator. So this is some physiological phenomena is there, so that the inflammatory material, the mucus from these sinuses get coming into the nose through the lateral wall of the nasal cavity. Normally this place is what? Air. Next point, what these are of made up of, so whatever is respiratory epithelium, it is continued here also. So you can see here respiratory epithelium extends to the apertures of the paranasal sinuses. That unfortunately also favors a spread of infection. Now see, if you are having infection in your sinuses, any type of day, you have some sinusitis, just think like this. Okay, sinusitis of your maxillary bone. So these are also continued with the respiratory epithelium, which is continuous with the other part of respiratory systems like trachea and then bronchi and then the inner parts of the lung. So if there is some infection in your sinusitis, it will come to the respiratory part. If respiratory part is having some infection, it can come to your sinus part also. So this particular respiratory epithelium is unfortunately favoring the spread of the infections. Next, some cilia are also present in the mucosa near aperture, but they are not properly distributed everywhere. Next, most of the sinuses are rudimentary or absent at birth. Very important, at birth we don't have any sinus spaces, but they enlarge during the eruption of permanent teeth and after puberty. And due to the increase in the size of these sinuses, your size of shape changes continuously. See the last point here written, that significantly alters your the size and the shape of your face. So these sinuses have some role in our facial quality also. So three things to be remembered here: respiratory epithelium, cilia, and the rudimentariness of the sinuses. So where they are going to drainage the thing of what is the actually function of paranasal sinus. You can see here the mucus produced by mucous membranes is moved into the nose by ciliary action of columnar cells. Functions are, as I have told you before also, resonator of voice, reduce the skull weight, help in the warming and moistening of the inhaled air, that's why sometimes also called as air conditioner of respired air, and act as a soft absorber in the trauma. So all these 4 points are very important on the clinical basis. Now one by one we have to see all the things. First one is maxillary sinus. So as the name suggests, it will be in the maxilla bone only. So it is the largest paranasal sinus. Remember, it is the largest. Pyramidal in shape. It is paired. Both the side it is present. Located within the body of maxilla, behind the skin of cheek. The roof is formed by the floor of orbit. This is your orbit. This is the floor of orbit. The roof means upper part. The upper part is formed by the floor of the orbit, and the floor is formed by the root of second premolar and first molar teeth. So the part which is upper lip part or upper layer of teeth, this is going to form the floor of this particular cavity. The maxillary sinus opens into the middle medius of nose. So M for maxillary, M for middle meatus. So remember it like this: M for maxillary sinus, M for middle meatus sinus. The arterial supply of maxilla is derived mainly from the maxillary artery only. So a very simple things. It is present in back of the maxilla bone. Remember your this particular part. You will remember the boundary. The upper boundary is formed by the floor of the orbit, and the lower boundary is formed by the second premolar and first molar teeth. The maxillary sinus opened in the medial meatus, and it is supplied by branches of maxillary arteries. So everywhere maxilla is there. I think it's clear to you now. Next is frontal sinus. Frontal sinus, this called frontal bone, just above the supraciliary parts. So these are rudimentary or absent at birth. These are very symmetrical, contained within the frontal bone, separated from each other by a bony septum. You can see the diagram, bony septum is there in between them. The sinus is roughly triangular. It is not a proper triangle, but roughly it is a triangular, extending upward above the medial end of eyebrow and backward into the medial part of the roof of the orbit. So here, the roof of the orbit is going to make the boundary and plus the medial end of the eyebrows. Again, it is going to open in the medial meatus only. Remember this much only, medial meatus. The frontal sinus receives their arterial supply with the supraorbital and anterior ethmoidal artery. Supraorbital and anterior ethmoidal artery. So this is a summary for frontal sinus. Next comes sphenoidal sinus. These are the sphenoids. So lie within the body of sphenoid bone as all the sinuses are there. At birth, these sinuses are present as a minute cavities and develop slowly during the puberty time. They are found below the sella turcica. I think you might be knowing what is sella turcica. Extends between the dorsum celli and post glenoid process. These are the parts of bone we are going to deal with later on. Opens into sphenoethmoidal recess above the superior concha. Remember here the things are different. It opens into the sphenoethmoidal recess above the superior concha. Next important thing here is sphenoidal sinus are related above to optic chiasma and hypophysis cerebelli on each side to the internal carotid artery and cavernous sinus. This something is new for you. Optic chiasma is the part of optic tract, means whatever we see through the retina, I have told you it goes to the optic nerve, and optic nerve crosses each other from right to left like this. So this forms the chiasma, known as optic chiasma, and sella turcica is the part of bone where hypophysis cerebelli is there. Hypophysis cerebelli, Deven, you know what is the common name for this?
Pituitary wala sir.
Pituitary part. Okay, very good. So this is where the pituitary gland is actually lying just above to the hypothalamus part also. So it is totally, we'll deal it with separate part, and we are going to deal the basal ganglia or thalamus. Next is the sphenoidal sinus receives their arterial supply from posterior ethmoidal branches of ophthalmic artery, nasal artery of sphenopalatine arteries. So here some new things are there, little bit typical also. So first of all, lie within the sphenoid bone. At birth, they are very minute cavities. They are found below the sella turcica, opens into sphenoethmoidal recess above the superior concha. Then these are related to optic chiasma and hypophysis cerebri. This will have some clinical basis when you're going to go for the higher classes. Then there is the blood supply for this. You can go through it. The last one is ethmoid sinus. Ethmoid sinus are very different from other sinus. As you can see the diagram also in the first slide what I have shown you. These are very small. See what is written here. The ethmoid sinuses differ from the other paranasal sinus in the way they are formed by the thin walled cavities. They are basically three groups: anterior, medial, and posterior. As the name suggests, they are contained within the ethmoid only between the nose and orbit. Anterior and medial one drains into the middle nasal meatus, but the posterior one drains into the superior nasal meatus. So remember, ethmoid sinus has two openings, one for the anterior and medial, that is medial nasal meatus, and one for the posterior, that is superior nasal meatus. Separated from the orbit by a thin plate of a bone so that infection can rapidly spread to the sinuses into orbit. So just think, because they are very close to the orbit, if some infection comes to your ethmoidal sinus, it can easily be transmitted into your orbit also, and through the orbit into your eyes, through the eyes into your brain also, because optic nerve is coming directly from the brain. They are going to receive the blood supply from the nasal branches of sphenopalatine artery. They are of clinical importance because they are susceptible to the inflammation, because they are already formed at the time of birth. Remember it. The sinuses are of clinical significance at birth because they are susceptible to inflammation. बाकी सब क्या है? They haven't formed or they are rudimentary at the time of birth, but these are already formed in minute format, so they can also cause the inflammation also. Now this is an scheme for the sinus drainage system, which is going to drain where. So it is very simple. You can make one table. You will write one side the opening in the frontal sinus and the part of nose, medial meatus. That's maxillary sinus, medial meatus, and sphenoidal sinus, spinoethmoidal recess of the nasal concha. Then like this one, anterior also. So you make one table when you're going to make the notes, and it will be easy for you. Now this is very important point which comes in the slide number 10, spread of infection to cranial cavity. As you can see, these sinuses are the places which are directly in close proximity with the brain also. So the state of health of the, please close your mic. The state of the health of the paranasal sinuses depends on the immunity, mucociliary clearance, and aerations of the sinuses. Immunity, mucociliary clearance, whatever is filled in your cavities, it has to be removed. If it is not proper, then inflammation will take place. And then aeration of the sinuses. The medial meatus form the common drainage pathway for anterior ethmoidal, frontal, and maxillary. The posterior ethmoidal and sphenoidal sinuses drain into the superior meatus and sphenoethmoidal recess. So for this, how can we check? We can go for endoscopic examination. The endoscopic examination will usually show infected mucus draining from these areas. The maxillary sinus infection. Please close your mics. The maxillary sinus infection may also spread from the infected teeth also. So if you are not properly cleaning your teeth also, the infection can occur there also. Next slide, you can see some diagrammatic representation of closeness of all the sinuses. One by one, you can see it, that how close these are. Like sphenoidal sinus is very close to sella turcica, as we have already talked. Then you can see spread of infection in this slide, how the things can get exchanged from these particular parts. Then from the paranasal sizes of ethmoidal sites, and then the meningeal layer and mucus layer from this particular area. So that's why the sinusitis is not a simple disease. Disease is very dangerous if not proper care is not taken. So some clinical points are here: examination of paranasal sinus, sinusitis, basal skull fractures also. So all these things, all this point you are going to study when the clinical classes is going to occur. One of them, the most common, the sinusitis. We can see some symptoms here: the frontal sinus, the sphenoidal sinus, the ethmoidal sinus, then septum, then maxillary sinus. And whenever something is filled, you are going to get some typical symptoms like headache, always some mucus is coming in your nose, you can't concentrate on anything, you can't sleep properly. So these particular symptoms you can correlate with the sinus also, though some other diagnosis point differential diagnosis is also there. Like migraine can be confused with the frontal sinusitis. Weak eye, it can also be correlated here because due to the weak eye also the number is up and down, then also the headache is there. So many symptoms are very close to each other. That's why there is some confusion also for making this particular type of diagnosis here. So this is very simple topic. I think everybody should understood it. If there is any confusion,